Try this with me, everybody. Hey, oh, 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 hey, hey, oh, 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 hey. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la la ya la la. Hey oh 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 hey hey oh oh hey. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 ya la la ya la. Ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la 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 la. Hey hey oh oh hey hey oh oh hey. Well, Pam, Sister Mary Jean, I know you know me, but I'm going to introduce myself formally so that our friends who will join us later when they watch this video will know who I am. Since I have the privilege to lead us here today, I would just say good morning to you both and good morning to everyone and welcome friends in faith. I'm Rabbi Craig Morantz of Emmanuel Congregation, and I'm delighted to see you here for day one of our ECRA Circle of Solidarity and Mourning. Today begins, or continues really, a daily call, our daily call to ecumenical prayer and action, a time to stand with our communities of color, a time to remember George Floyd and others so tragically murdered in acts of racial and police violence, a time to make sure that their losses and their lives matter, that all Black and brown lives matter, a time to combat racism and to champion anti-racism. And so in Jewish tradition, when we come to such a precious moment of awareness and thanksgiving, we say the Shechianu. So repeat after me. And actually, I'm going to mute everybody because it'll sound better. So you'll just repeat after me in your own space. All right. So let's do that. All right. Repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign over time and space, who gives us life, who sustains us, who brings us to moments of new and sharpened recognition and responsibility, that we must be part of the solution in bringing racism down and not propping it up. Amen ve'amen. So I thought that for a moment we would reflect on how we're doing, what our actions must be going forward as it relates to combating racism, as it relates to supporting anti-racism, as it relates to ensuring that George Floyd and others have not died in vain? How do we champion anti-racism? How do we combat racism in our time? What must be our commitments and our actions going forward? Any thoughts?
Basically, right now my thoughts are to, I guess, try and calm down. There has been so much. My brain is completely filled with what has happened. And so I think before I reflect on what to do, I have to calm down. Calm is not the right word, but anyway.
Well, there's a calmness required in this storm of justice that requires us to act, but to act intentionally. On Friday night, we reflected on Dr. Angelou's wisdom that each of us can be a hero if we do some small action that flows out of an intentionality to be a force for good, to make a difference, in this case, to combat racism, to champion anti-racism. So it seems to me the calmness and the serenity that we achieve in the eye of the storm may lend to a certain intentionality. And once that intentionality is in place, then we have a responsibility ultimately to actualize it, don't we? Right? Because good intentions are just good intentions. Good intentions converted into good actions, transformative actions, truly make a difference. Pam, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have felt similarly, needing to calm and quiet my mind to be able to sort out and figure out what to do. I felt very restless, but I think in the last few days, what I've really come to is that before I can really do anything, I have to listen and I have to learn and be comfortable with that. And that means quieting my mind, because it's a little uncomfortable sometimes to do that. And then I think simultaneously I have to really confront and think about my own prejudices and biases. So that's kind of where I am with first steps.
First steps. I think confronting our own contributions to the struggles of racism is key. It requires a lot of self-reflection and honest self-reflection and patient self-reflection, because what we might see may not be what is comfortable. We have to be steady and calm and perseverant, resilient, and to recognize it as a responsibility, right, to those who have perished because of actions that flow out of racism that comes from a source from which we all drink in life, at least those of us white in color, in this nation anyway, and I think globally as well. That's hard work, and it's important work. And no matter how scary it might be, we understand that we've been able to run and hide for since 1619, collectively as a people. So being patient, being perseverant, being honest, being vulnerable, I think is our summons. Being ready and intentional. Hello, Ruben. Welcome. Nice to see you. Ruben, welcome. We have a moment to share if you'd like. We talked about And this is Sister Mary Jean and Pam, you know, from Temple. And thank you for joining our ECRA circle of solidarity and memorial. What are our actions going forward from this point, Ruben? What are your actions? What are your commitments going forward? You can think.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me think on it for.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. So we're going to move ahead. Ruben, make sure I get back to you, okay, before we close. I'm not going to spend much more than 15, 20 minutes together during these special circles of prayer. So what I want to do here is, let's see if I can share my screen. Perfect. You see that okay?
It's not yet. Yes.
Now it is.
All right. Ruben, while you're warming up, you can read this powerful, powerful poem by your friend, our friend, Alden Solovey. A Psalm of Protest.
Okay, whoops.
Can you see this okay?
Yep, here we go.
All right.
A psalm of protest in memory of George Floyd. Sung at the gates of justice when black men are strangled in the streets, when power is abused and jails overflowed, when the voiceless are forgotten and minorities misused. Open the gates. Open the cries of those murdered, jailed, or harassed for being black, for being a person of color, for being homeless, indigent, destitute, or unwanted. The disdained or the hounded, the pursued, and the persecuted. Those who are killed are being restrained. Open, you gates. Let righteousness flow forth as living waters. Let the truth flow forth as healing balm to still the hand of violence and hatred, to cure the heart of bigotry and racism, to herald fairness and equality, to bring justice to this land.
Amen. Ruben, if you want to share, let me know when you're ready, okay?
I was going to look up something. It's a prayer that was written in a class that I'm taking with all.
So you look it up when you find it, you can read it, okay?
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to move this forward. So now what we see are slides that remind us of the people that we are remembering today. There's another slide that reminds us of people who have died in similar ways, the hands of violent police officers or racial violence, or some combination. And then we're going to get to the Kaddish, which is a Jewish prayer for mourning. And then we'll sing the words of Lo Yisagoy, which is the nigun that we did at the beginning. We'll sing that, and I have a slide that will help us follow along in Hebrew and English. And then, Ruben, when you're ready, we'll hear from you as well. the list of those killed coldly in acts of racial and police violence, the list feels endless, and so too does our despair. But as we recite the mourner's Kaddish for them all, we say a number of things. Firstly, that their lives and their losses matter to us, and that we will not stand idly by while there is racism to combat and while there is anti-racism to champion. So, Sister Mary Jean and Pam, can we invite you to read this poem? Maybe Sister Mary Jean, read what's on your left and on the left, and Pam on the right.
Sure.
Share and hear your voices.
O people of conscience, cry out. Cry out against arrogance. Cry out against hatred and anger. Cry out against violence and oppression. For God requires us to stand in the name of justice and freedom. For God requires us to oppose terror, violence, brutality, and murder. To muster our power and energy against racist aggression, and to protect all created in God's image and the value we all intrinsically possess, O God. We implore you, look down compassionately upon the suffering perpetrated against all victims of bigotry, their grieving families and communities, and our bleeding nation by the hand of wickedness.
By the hand of malevolence, by the hand of ignorance and sin. Today we remember with sadness the attacks against George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Regina Korchinski-Paquette, Manuel Ellis, and other Black Americans, and the loss of precious life. With your gentle and loving hand, God of shelter, unite all of your children under your canopy of hope and love. Bring the light of salvation and healing to the four corners of the earth.
Amen.
And I found the one that I was looking for.
Okay, Ruben, why don't you read that and then we'll pray the Kaddish.
Okay. Numbers 6:24 to 26, adapted for George Floyd. May God bless you and protect you. May the breath of all life cause us to guard the breath of every human life, and in turn motivate us to bless and protect others. Only then can we know our blessings and protection. May God's face shine upon you and grace you. May the light of all being illuminated our darkest places and grace us with the courage to face all that needs change and change it. Only then can we know your light and grace.
Amen.
Amen.
May God's face lift you towards the light and bring you peace. May that which dwells in the highest places lift us to a higher place, and face to face see all our hearts, all our soul, and all our might that we are truly one. Only then can we know peace.
Amen.
Amen.
He Ratzon, may it be God's will. So I thought we would do something unique today. In our Jewish community, we don't normally pray this mourner's Kaddish in English, but I thought today we would do so. So Let's make sure everybody's muted. But actually, you know what? You don't have to. We'll do it together. So let's make sure everybody's unmuted. Sorry for the confusion. Everybody see the English?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Exalted and hallowed be God's great name,
That great name.
which God
the
created
world.
according to plan. May God's majesty be revealed in the days of our lifetime,
Lifetime.
the life
of all.
all things, speedily,
imminent,
and to which we
to which we say,
Amen.
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 Blessed be God's great name to all eternity. Blessed, praised,
Praised, honor,
exalted,
Exalted,
soul,
glorified, adored, and now
the
the
name of
name of the
Holy
Holy Blessed One.
one,
beyond all
And
earthly
all earthly words and songs of blessing.
songs of blessing,
praise and comfort.
praise and comfort,
Say,
to
Amen.
which we say,
Amen.
Amen.
May there be abundant peace
And peace from heaven.
heaven,
Life.
life for us,
For us and all Israel, to which we
To which we
say,
say, Amen.
Amen.
to which we say Amen. And may the one who creates harmony,
Creates memory on high,
bring peace to
bring
us,
peace to us
all Israel,
and to all Israel,
all on the
to
earth,
which we say,
to which we
Amen.
Amen. So, you'll notice here on this final slide that we have the words for Lo Yisagoi and Ufrosalenu. So Lo Yisagoi comes to us from Isaiah 2, verse 4, Micah or Micha, chapter 4, verse 3. And the idea here is that nation will not lift up sword against nation, and we will not study war anymore. One course of action I think is absolutely essential from my perspective, and one that I will push for, is to the extent that we can reform policing in such a way that they do not have to use weapons of war to make our streets safer, so-called. I think we should push hard for what they say is demilitarizing our police force and coming up with alternative ways to guarantee or to assure or to create consistent community safety. There must be better ways. And while we're at it, some of these lethal tactics, certainly the idea of kettling, I think it's called, where you place your knee on someone's neck, this has got to be eliminated immediately. And we have to stand up for this this reform and to prevent this kind of injustice going forward. Hey yo, oh, hey yo, oh, hey, Loya Sagoy, oh, you may do on Milchama, Loya Sagoy, Lo, you may do on Milchama, hey yo, oh, hey yo, oh, hey. Don't walk behind, don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just to walk beside me, and me, my friend, we'll walk together in the land of Hashem. Hey, oh, Frosalenu, Sukat, sukat, shalom
Salenu.
sukat, shalom
La la ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Well, you probably heard that my dog Zeus had a few things to say. Mostly how much he doesn't like my guitar, but maybe he was speaking his own mind towards pursuing the justice that is demanded by this moment. I'm going to stop sharing here so I can see your face. And I would just like to thank you for jumping in with me and ECRA on this inaugural prayer circle. And hope to see you again. We're going to be doing this daily. I'm covering the first few days to help us build some momentum, but always looking for volunteers. Can be clergy, can be lay people, some combination. And throughout, we'll try our best to bring multiple voices to bear and have a meaningful experience. And the key is to remember George Floyd and others, make sure that they did not die in vain, and make sure that we do whatever we can going forth to, as Reuben's beautiful poem reflected, the one that he read so beautifully, that, if we're going to take a deep breath of life, let us make sure that that life matters, that black and brown life matters, that a world without gratuitous violence, a world without racism, a world replete with anti-racism is a noble goal, and one that we're going to have to work really hard for. Going forward. So we'll pray, we'll find intentionality, and we'll call action from hopefully the peaceful serenity that we create together, that doesn't keep us just in that peaceful, serene state, but agitates us enough to get out there and make a difference, to be a force for good, and to heal the world of its racism. We can only do our part, so let's do a really important part. Struggle on.
Thank you.
Stay in the fight. Pay kindness forward. Champion anti-racism. Good morning.
Amen. Thank
See
you.
you.
Thank you now. Be well.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye, you too. See you later.
Bye.